guys, it's Kara here at Butterbooze. Today we're going to be going over the simple washcloth pattern that I created for the Beginner Crochet 1 class. It's a really pretty pattern. It's very simple. It's just worked with a foundation chain and a single crochet, double crochet, and a slip stitch. It's super simple, but it gives you this nice pretty washcloth. I recommend using a recycled cotton or a cotton linen blend so that you can, so it dries really well. My example here was done with Hobby Lobby. I love this cotton, and while it's like super soft and super pretty, it just does not dry well. So I like a recycled cotton, like Peaches and Cream or Lilies and Cream. You can get those from Walmart, Joann's. Crafter's Secret is Hobby Lobby's brand that's very similar to it. Premier Home is great. It's a cotton linen blend, and they have a cotton one that's kind of like the Peaches and Cream recycled type cotton. It's really great. Now when you're working with cotton yarns, it's not as forgiving and stretchy as the acrylic yarns, so it will take a little getting used to. But we're going to go over the pattern a little bit, and then I'll do a little example for you guys to kind of help you work through that pattern. So in here you will see the basic terminology for this particular pattern. You can see that you have CH for chain, SC for single crochet, DC for double crochet. You'll see the asterisk with the little repeat. That means that you simply repeat what you see between those markings. SL, ST is slip stitch, and ST is stitch. Here you see the supplies that you will need for this particular pattern. I recommend an H size hook. It kind of gives you an airy, holey kind of material. You can go up or down. You do want the holes in it because you want it to dry out if you're actually going to use the washcloth. I love using handmade washcloths. They exfoliate your skin. You can pop them in the wash. They're super pretty to put out in your bathroom when you have guests over. And they make good gifts too for people who are moving into new homes or new babies, things like that. People love handmade washcloths. They're very sturdy, very great. But so we work it with an H size hook. You can go up or down in your hook size just depending on what you're wanting to achieve. A cotton worsted yarn. Number 4, you can use a DK weight, but I prefer it with a worsted number 4, but a 3 would work too. And a darning needle, one of these, so that you can weave in your ends. Further down the pattern, you see where it kind of breaks down what you're doing. For this pattern, you'll need to know the basic single crochet and double crochet. The pattern is worked in multiples of 2, so it can be easily altered to your preferred size. So this means that you can increase the foundation chain in multiples of 2 to get the width that you want to achieve. I have it started with 24, which gives me about a 7x6 washcloth. But you can increase it in multiples of 2 to make it a larger washcloth, or decrease it by 2 to make it a smaller one. For instance, I made a little swatch earlier. This is just with 12. This size would be great for your toner or doing like a exfoliant where you don't want to have a big old washcloth. So, you know, you can also decrease it by 2. So that is that. You can turn it over, and I'll start breaking down this pattern. You guys can just follow along or watch the video and then try it on your own. It's a really simple, let me make sure I got my, looks good. Okay. Sorry, have to get my focus in check. Okay, so for this video, I'm just going to make another little swatch, kind of like this, so that you guys can see how it's worked. So we have to do our slip knot. Remember, you hold your tail end in your hand, you wrap it over your fingers, over to the back, go underneath that first loop, pull that second loop up, and do it like that. You can do it any way that you want to. That's just the way that I tend to do it. Okay, so I'm going to chain 12. The pattern suggests to chain 24. You can increase that in multiples of 2 if you wish to increase the width of your washcloth. So I'm going to do 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So here we have 12 stitches. So then it says row 1, single crochet into the second chain from hook until you have reached the end of row 1. Okay, so we're gonna go not into this first stitch here. Remember, the loop on your hook does not count as a chain. So here's stitch 1, here's stitch 2. We're gonna work into stitch 2. So we push it through, yarn over, pull through. You have the 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2. That's your first single crochet. Now you go into your next stitch, which is right here. Push through, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, and then you go on to your next one. Now I'm giving it a little tug with the cotton yarn. It kind of brings it back down because it does get, the tension kind of messes up a little as you work it. So I'm kind of pulling it a little taut. So here we go, that's another one. Work all these single crochets until we get to the very end here. And again, just kind of pull it tight after you come out of the stitch to get it a little neater, I guess is what it would do. Okay, so we came to the end of the row with all our single crochets. Now we are going to chain 1, turn our work. Okay, then row 2 says single crochet into the first stitch. So we push our hook through, yarn over, and then we double crochet into the next stitch. So we yarn over first, go into that stitch, yarn over, pull through the stitch, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the next 2 loops. Okay, so the next one, you see the asterisk, it says SC next, DC next, and that says repeat until you have 1 stitch remaining. So that means that you alternate your single crochet, double crochet until you reach the end, in which you end with a single crochet. So we did that double crochet. Now we'll do the single crochet. Single, double, yarn over, go through the stitch, yarn over again, pull through the stitch. Have 3 loops, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the next 2. Single crochet, double crochet, single crochet, double crochet. Make sure that you're not like getting your stitches too tight when you're doing it though, otherwise you're going to have trouble pushing your hook through the stitches, kind of like that. I got mine a little too tight. With the cotton, I tend to do it a little tighter sometimes. Okay, so here's our last stitch, and we're going to work that single crochet into that stitch, which it might look a little funky. It's okay, it's still the stitch. You just gotta push it in there, get it through. Well, mine is, there we go. All right, so then we came to the end of the row. We're going to chain 1, turn it, and work a row of single crochet all the way across. Make sure that you don't get it too tight. Now, if you want your washcloth to be a little more bumpy, you can replace that double crochet with a triple crochet. So just omit the double and do a triple. I was gonna write it both ways, but figured with a beginner crochet class, I could always tell you guys that in the video and didn't want to confuse you. So, okay, so here we are on we chain 1, we're going to single crochet, double crochet into this row. Make sure that you do your chain 1 at the end of every row to bring your stitch height back up. Because remember, your starting chain there brings you back up to the height that you need for your row. So that was a single, this is a double. Now, one thing I think is important, if you get lost on what stitch you're doing, let's see if I can zoom in here to show you. So right here you have the single crochet. It's kind of a big, let me pull this out. It's kind of a big V, see that? And it only has this one little loop up top and then this kind of bar, slanted bar here. In a double crochet, you kind of have these 2 little stitches here and then kind of a twist bar here. So if you get lost on what stitch you're on, you can kind of see what you're doing by looking at the stitch itself. Just kind of play with that and be conscious of it so that you can pick that out in the future, because you will get lost. Somebody will come up talking to you or whatever. You'll get a phone call and you will have to put your work down. So it's important to kind of see the difference in those stitches and kind of find the indications that show you what stitch is what. See, and cotton yarn likes to split, so in that case you just rip it out, rip that stitch out, and go to the next one. All right, now we chain 1, go to our single double row, single, that was our double, single, double, single. Here, I'm going to work it a little slower. Yarn over, go through, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2, single, yarn over, go in, double, yarn over, go in, yarn over, go through 2, push straight through, okay, double. All right, chain 1, turn, single crochet row. It's a really, really simple pattern. It's just a repeat, but it turns out so super nice once you get it completed. Like I said, you can make them as small or as large as you wish. You can also make dishcloths with these. There's a scrubby yarn that Red Heart makes that's really cool to make double to make kitchen stuff with. Single, double. Now the pattern calls just for a repeat for rows 4 to 21. However, if you increased or decreased your foundation chain in multiples of 2, you would obviously work that until you reached your desired length. I made this pattern so that it could easily be altered for whatever you guys would like. It's super, 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 super easy. Once you have reached your desired length, it says to make sure that you end on a row that is single crochet only. So here I just about have a little square, so I'm going to do this last row, which is a single crochet only row. So I'm going to single crochet all the way across the top, just as I would be doing in row 3, because we're just alternating between the rows 2 and 3, the entire pattern. Okay. Now it says when you get to the end of your row, what you're going to do is you're going to chain 1. So here we're chaining 1. We are going to flip our work. And in this first stitch here, we're going to single crochet 2 into that same stitch. So when we do this, it gives our corners this nice rounded edge that you see here. It gives it a nice, when you put the 2 into the corners instead of doing 1, it gives you a nice clean rounded edge. Now if you just put 1 stitch there, it would kind of give it a bowed look. So I like to add 2 stitches into those corners whenever I'm doing something as a border. So here's 2 single crochets, and then it says to work across until we reach across and single crochet until we reach the next corner. So we're just going to put a single crochet into each one of the single crochets from the previous row until we reach the next corner. Okay. See, I pulled that stitch, split it. It happens. Okay. Let's see here. Now we're gotten to this last stitch, so we're going to put 2 single crochets in that corner stitch. Okay. Now we're going to work down the side row, and we're going to put 1 single crochet in each row edge until we reach the next corner. So that means we're working, instead of working on the single crochet sides or the foundation chain side, we're going to work down the edges. So you kind of just have to look and see where your little edges are. So right here we can see that we have this loop. We'll go in there. Right under it, it's tighter, but it's right there. That's your single crochet row. The next one, it's a loopier kind of, so that's kind of obvious. That's your single double row. Then you have that little bitty loop right there. That's your single crochet row. The next one is your single double one. That's your single crochet row. That's your single double. And here is our single, and then we have our foundation chain. So we do in 2 in this one, and then 1 in each of our stitches across the bottom single or our bottom foundation chain. Okay. Now when you reach the edge